Hello and welcome. I am Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. And with me is a very special guest, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Tourism of Seychelles, Mr. Sylvestre Radegonde. Now, my guest needs no introduction, but just for the benefit of viewers tuning in from around the world, Minister Radegonde is a man of many parts. He's been a career diplomat. He's worked in the corporate sector, and he is a politician to boot. Mr. Minister, welcome to DD India.
Thank you very much.
If I may, Mr. Minister, also introduce Seychelles to our viewers. Now, Seychelles is an archipelago consisting of 115 islands in the Western Indian Ocean. It became an independent country in 1976. It has a land area of about 450 square kilometers, which makes it smaller than the Indian city of Mumbai. But it has an EEZ of 1.2 million square kilometers. And by virtue of its strategic location, it wields a disproportionate influence in the Indian Ocean region, and it's home to a large Indian diaspora as well. Mr. Minister, it's your maiden visit to India. How is your visit coming along?
Oh, very well. This is a visit, an invitation, a long-standing invitation from my colleague, the External Affairs Minister. And, as you know, I hold two portfolios, tourism and foreign affairs. Small country, a lot of issues, a lot of traveling that I have to do. And, but I insisted that I had to undertake this visit before the end of the year. So the visit has been excellent, and it was a pleasure to come back to Delhi at least. You may know that I was, at one point, High Commissioner to India, non-resident, based in Kuala Lumpur. And it's always been a pleasure, and it has been a pleasure to be back here.
Mr. Minister, what did you discuss with India's Foreign Minister, Minister Jaishankar? How those talks go, and what was the outcome of your discussions? Any agreements that were signed?
We signed two agreements. One to do with sports, cooperation in sports, and the other one was high-impact projects that India has been supporting us on. Our discussions, the Foreign Minister, the External Affairs Minister, and myself, has been to sort of do a review of the status of our cooperation, see where we are, look at how we can further progress the relationship between our two countries, which are already, I must say, excellent in my view. India has been present in Seychelles since independence and involved in many projects, many activities in the country, and it was good for us to review where we are and see what else we can do together.
Mr. Minister, how would you define or characterize Seychelles-India relations in terms of political relations, trade, development, people-to-people ties, and also defense and security?
I would say excellent in all of those areas that you've mentioned. In politics, if I can start with that.
Sure.
I mean, we're a consistent supporter of India on most issues in the international arena. I think India is one country where we're comfortable to support them in the various candidatures consistently. So there's no problem there.
Right.
And I've seen many of the international, topical issues. We almost see eye to eye on all these issues. So that's great. India has been a solid, dependable partner, always. I keep saying, India saved our economy after COVID, providing us with the vaccines and so on, because we needed to reopen the economy. It was there. But then there are other areas of cooperation. Maritime security is vital for us. It's in our national interest, and similarly for India. So this is one issue where our interests converge, and India really supports us on that. You mentioned the vast expanse of ocean.
Indeed.
A small country like Seychelles cannot do it alone. True. India is a strategic partner in there, but of course we have also other partners like the European Union that supports us.
Indeed. Mr. Minister, is there scope for doing more? I mean, do Seychelles and India want to become more ambitious when it comes to bilateral relations?
There's always scope to do more. We would like India to be involved.
So any particular focus areas?
And we've discussed certain areas. Maybe I won't be able at this point there to divulge, But I think in assisting Seychelles in its development efforts, India is very keen to continue to support us. I mentioned the small impact projects in the districts, where Seychelles sort of identifies areas, specific projects that touch directly the lives of the community. And India has been, is the only partner really that the assistance focuses on such, focuses on such assistance. So we will continue to do that. Mm-hmm. But then look at other projects as well, infrastructure being another one, while we continue to pursue, develop, our cooperation in other areas.
Mr. Minister, India's Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, visited Seychelles in 2015. By the way, it was the first Pan-Indian Prime Minister in more than 3 decades. Some agreements were signed at the time. And India's Foreign Minister, Minister Jaishankar, visited Seychelles in 2020. Have Victoria and New Delhi been able to build on those visits? Have the two countries made substantial progress on their discussions? And are you satisfied with the current trajectory of the ties?
You see, since Prime Minister Modi's visit, as you would know, there has been a change of government. Right. Now, in principle, there would be continuity in affairs of state. But I must say, maybe because of other priorities, we tended to forget, I won't say ignore, but I think we tended to forget our close friends. We thought, these are friends, are going to be around anyway. And maybe things were such that we had to look at the things that we needed to do. But it doesn't mean that relations had ever cooled down or whatever. So we continue to pursue whatever agreements that were signed, discussions that were had with the previous administration, gone on into this administration. We continue to push. And absolutely, I think we are on the right path.
And are any visits planned in the high-level visits in the near future to or from Seychelles?
We hope that the President of Seychelles will be able to undertake a visit next year to India.
Tell us a bit more, if you will, Mr. Minister, about your visit to India. Are you visiting any other countries on your way in or out of the country?
I forget which countries I'm visiting, now or out. I came here 24 hours after returning from a meeting in Samoa. From here, I'll be going briefly to Seychelles, and then making my way to Paris, and then on to COP in Dubai.
Right. Mr. Minister, by virtue of its geography, India and the region can only ignore Seychelles at its own peril. Maritime security, security of sea lanes, freedom of navigation have all acquired a salience of their own of late. Now, New Delhi pursues what it calls the twin policies of neighborhood first and security and growth for all in the region by the acronym SAGAR. Now, are Seychelles and India working together in the Indian Ocean region?
We are, not only bilaterally, but also with other countries of the region. Seychelles, well, India certainly is a strategic partner. It's a kingpin in the work that we need to do in the region. For obvious reasons, first of all, I mean, India is a bigger country than any of us combined. Island states in the Indian Ocean that are most concerned by the security of the issues in the Indian Ocean, be they illegal fishing, drug trafficking, which is a big challenge for us, arms trafficking. So India provides us with the support. Absolutely. So I think as I said before, we're working in partnership with India, and India continues to be a very willing partner, ready to support the states in the region.
And I believe the cooperation also extends to issues such as Coast Guard, to preventing piracy, and India also, I believe, shared the Dornier aircraft with Seychelles. So how is that cooperation coming along?
The cooperation is very good. I mean, one of the issues we discussed, India's continued support for our Coast Guard and our military generally. India has over the years provided us with patrol vessels. That will continue. Yes, you mentioned the Dornier. That is coming along fine. We have in Seychelles a few military experts, Indian military experts, supporting us. help us to, in our capacity building. This also will continue. So all in all, difficult for me to pinpoint one area. The relationship between our two countries are multi-dimensional, and every step of the way India has been there, is there.
Mr. Minister, talking about the wider Indian Ocean region, how would you describe Seychelles' relations with countries in the region, particularly China?
We have excellent relations with China. To us, it's not a question of either or. They are all partners. China also is a significant contributor to our development. They're involved primarily in infrastructure projects on the island. The cooperation will continue. We also would like to, Seychelles is a small country, non-aligned. We want it to remain that way. But along with China, there are other countries as well. Sure. With the US has recently decided to come back and reopen their embassy in Seychelles, which is great. But there we have the UK, we have the French, we have the Cubans, we have the Libyans, everybody's there. So we have excellent relations with everybody, and we work with everybody.
Mr. Minister, connectivity is an important component or dimension of any relationship. Is there a plan to increase the number of flights, say, between Seychelles and India, make visas quicker and easier, maybe in order to boost tourism? Because tourism happens to be the other portfolio as well.
Seychelles, in terms of visa, has no issue, because we do not have a visa system in Seychelles. Everybody can come in, visa-free. That is one thing. Yes, air connectivity is a big challenge for us. In fact, in my capacity as tourism minister, what I've been trying for the past 3.5 years I've been in the post, is to try and diversify our source markets, which has traditionally been Western Europe. But of course, it is more easily said than done. You say you want to move to Uzbekistan, but you have to be able to move the tourists from Uzbekistan to Seychelles. And it's the same with India. Huge potential in India in terms of our tourism, like in China and other areas. The big challenge is air connectivity. At the moment, we're depending on Air Seychelles, which is a very small airline, limited capacity, that flies once a week into Mumbai. That is not going to sustain the tourism industry. We would like to see that developed. We would like to see with, if not Air India, Indigo maybe, as a potential. We've not approached them yet to see the possibility. Failing that, we will have to go to one of the well-known African regional airlines with a connectivity. Here I'm thinking of Ethiopian as an example. That would not be ideal. Yeah. Won't be a direct flight, but could be a sort of something to fall back on. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Minister, climate change is a clear and present danger to many countries around the world, including Seychelles. What would you want the world to do to reduce your anxieties on this count? And I ask you this because, as I'm told that you'll be traveling to the UAE for the COP28 as well.
Look, if I take the COP, I will maybe start with that.
Sure.
I am pessimistic about the outcome of COP28.
Why?
As I was the previous COPs. There are a lot of declarations, a lot of beautiful speeches, a lot of commitments made. But at the end of the day, what do you see? You see, when I look at the situation in the world today, you ask people, the international community, to understand the specificities of small island developing states. We contribute 0 to carbon emission in the world. We ask them to understand the specificities of small states and to help us protect ourselves. Nobody says no.
Nobody says yes either.
Nobody says yes. But you see, it's always a question of resources. There's no funding. We'll have to go. We'll have to discuss. We'll have to go and check. But at the same time, you see when problem pops up, and I would very frankly say, look at the issue in Ukraine. Okay, there was the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and suddenly, look at the millions being poured into Ukraine. So the money that was not available to support small states protect themselves
went there.
It's gone there. And it won't be any different with the situation in the Middle East. You see? So what I fear is that COP28 is going to be another
Talk shop.
yeah, talk shop. And we're going to give ourselves a pat on the back, go away happy, and we'll go back next year and repeat the same thing. You take the loss and damage.
Exactly.
Fund.
Yeah, I was coming to that, yeah.
Loss and damage fund. We thought it was great. But then we saw there were some conditions attached. And when we look at it, bottom line is that a country of Seychelles, perceived to be rich, won't benefit. So we will continue with our problem, rising sea level, erosion, and all the rest. And we will, what do we do?
And this issue figured in the G20 summit in New Delhi as well in the month of September. In that context, how do you see India's stewardship of the G20 over the past year?
Look, I think India has been an excellent chairman. Excellent chairman. I think for once we saw a chairmanship, a country that really took into account the issues of the developing
The global
world.
south.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that manifested itself by finally getting Africa as a member of the group. It was, India's chairmanship direction that made that happen. So I think India, and I congratulated the External Affairs Minister, did a sterling job of guiding the work of this organization, and which helped to build confidence. I think at times also, you look at all this succession of groupings of countries and so on. But I think for once we have hope that G20, there's a future. G20 will be more conscious of issues of the rest of the world.
As I said before, Mr. Minister, you've dabbled in the private sector, including the hospitality industry. You've been a diplomat, and now you're in politics. What's your first love? Is it politics, diplomacy, or corporate life?
Difficult. I think my first love is being a private citizen. Being a father, being a husband, that is my first love. And of course the rest. I mean, you have dabbled over the years into various areas. In there, I did a stint in the police as well for about 10 years. And when I look back today, I think probably this was my happiest moment. Being a young constable, maybe because there were not so many responsibilities, maybe I was younger, but I really enjoyed that. And today, well, I have the responsibility that I have, which I enjoy, thoroughly enjoy. I've been given these two portfolios that, with tourism and foreign affairs, that I didn't ask for, but they happen to be two portfolios that I really enjoy. I wake up every day, look forward to going to work.
Good for you, Mr. Minister. Now, do you have a hobby or passion? What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I used to swim a lot, much less now, but I enjoy cooking. I enjoy receiving friends and cooking for friends and family. That is really, I would say, my biggest passion at the moment. I suppose as you grow older, you tend to be...
And talking about, since you mentioned cuisine and cooking, have you tried Indian food? I mean, for instance, do you watch Indian films or, like the Indian cuisine?
I do like Indian food, and, wherever I've been, I've lived in UK, and maybe outside of India, UK, maybe the area where you find most Indian restaurants, and so I really enjoy Indian food, and over the last couple of days, I've really indulged myself. I think there's some work to do when I go back home to try and...
Indeed. Mr. Minister, as you mentioned before, in 1998, you were concurrently accredited as the High Commissioner to India. That was 25 years ago. Any memories from the time, from your travels in India?
Unfortunately, I didn't explore India as I should have had. I was based in Kuala Lumpur. I was given the Asia Pacific to cover, and India, but I also had South Korea, had Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. So my visits to India were short. But I must say I still recall my visits to Udaipur. Absolutely. I mean, we drove there, and I really enjoyed the drive across. And this is what sticks out in my mind. And spending the night on the, can't remember the name of the hotel, on the
Lake Palace.
The Lake Palace. Absolutely. It was magical.
Great. And finally, Mr. Minister, how do you view the contributions of the Indian diaspora to the life and society of Seychelles?
The Indian diaspora in Seychelles is part of Seychelles. Indians were the first to settle in Seychelles. As you know, the islands just over 250 years ago were uninhabited. And the Indians, along with the French and Africans, are the first to come there. So the Indians are very present in Seychelles. They're very present in the daily life of Seychelles. They're involved in activities, very, very astute businessmen. In fact, a lot of the businesses in Seychelles are run by Indians. And today we have a president who is himself of Indian origin. So India plays a very significant role, and we would like to see that continue over the years.
Mr. Minister, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time once again. And with that, it's a wrap on this special broadcast. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.